is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. We gon' give them what they came for. We gon' take it up from last year. Shoot 'em my shot, boy, I'm long range. Me and the team on the same thing. Stayed down, never switched up. Only thing changed was the game. I'm in the zone now. Nothing can change what we on now. When I pull up, know it's going down. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down. No, my team, we holding it down. We know we running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change, yeah. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. I do not gamble, but bet on me. Tell them that's life, yeah, it's still love it. I'm taking a shot for my enemies. I can't waste no more time on my energy. I know they know I got it on lock. Go against me, that's a long shot. Cause I'm counting wins all around the clock. Never doubt me, boy, I don't stop. Who do you feel when they make you the monster? I am not scared of none of you imposters. Taking the lead now while they watching. Think you should leave now while the option. Taking no L's, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Who running the game now? Foot on the gas, can slow down, no.
Welcome to another edition of the It's Cavalier podcast. It's your boy Mac. Now, last time out, we started a new series breaking down my individual expectations for every player on the Cavs roster. On Tuesday's episode, we tackled the guards. Now it's time to discuss an often ridiculed group that is the forwards. I say ridiculed because of the way that nearly every player in this group has faced some sort of scrutiny or criticism based on a part of their game or tenure in Cleveland thus far. These are the groups. And for my folks streaming via audio, the forward group is comprised of Max Strus, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, George Niang, Emoni Bates, and Luke Travers. Now, as I stated in my breakdown of the guards group, these guys are grouped based upon where they played the most minutes at last year. In the case of Emoni and Luke, where I think they will play their most minutes at this season. We will begin at the bottom, starting with one of my personal favorites on the roster, and that is Luke Travers. Now, Travers has finally emerged from the depths of the NBL and is officially under contract. Two-way contract, that is. Y'all don't know how happy I am about that. Seriously, I'm ecstatic about it. When this young man was drafted, I kid you not, I was like, who the fuck is this Billy Hargrove looking dude out here? Seriously, I had no idea who Luke Travers was. And can you blame me? He was a 56 overall selection. Regardless, I took a deep dive into just who Travers was and what he could potentially offer the Cavs. And I was pretty impressed. Travers' work with Perth of the NBL stood out to me because of the versatility that it implied. In 27 games with Perth during the 2021-22 season, Travers put up 7.8 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 2.3 assists, while also giving 0.9 steals and 0.7 blocks. Not necessarily anything to write home about, but it did allude to him doing a bit of everything, and the film tended to back that up. Now, first we'll look at him in any NBA capacity came during the 2022-23 Summer League festivities, where he filled the stat sheet up to the tune of 6.6 points, 4.6 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 1.2 steals, and 1.2 blocks, while completing 48% of his field goals. I mean, his first game was unbelievably productive. 6 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, and 5 blocks. He was doing it all out there. Since then, it's been mostly the same, I suppose. He spent last season with Melbourne United alongside former Cavalier Matthew Dellavedova, and I think the Cavs saw enough to finally bring him over. So I'm stoked. All of that said, Travers is clearly still a work in progress. That much cannot be denied. For all of the potential glue guy tendencies and skills that he provides, he still falls short in one particular category, probably the most important category of all for his position, and that is three-point production. You can't really do too much. You're not really going to get too many minutes without being able to knock down the three ball, at least at a semi-respectable rate. Luke Travers is not anywhere near a reliable floor spacer in the traditional sense. Over the span of 15 Summer League games, he has managed to complete just 6 of his 31 attempts from range, or rather 19.4%. His international numbers have been all over the place as well. It's also come on low volume. I know that Travers is a solid rebounder, a pretty good facilitator, and a respectable defender, but in order for him to break through, he must begin to show signs of life at the NBA level of becoming a dependable shooter. That would most likely occur in an off-ball role. I don't think he's got a real chance to crack the rotation this season, but he is on a two-way contract, and I do expect the Cavs to make the most of that as they have with other two-ways in the past. He will begin the season with the Cleveland Charge, and if he performs well enough, I wouldn't put it past the Cavs to throw him a bone every so often. That starts with the 3-ball. Therefore, my expectation as of now is to start taking that shot. That is it for now, honestly. Now, we move on to Emoni Bates next, the Cavs' lone selection from the 2023 NBA draft. And what can I say about Emoni Bates that I haven't already said? Y'all know I remain a huge fan and believer in his talent. And at just 20 years of age, Bates is hopefully only scratching the surface of what he could potentially become. But the question is, what exactly is that? High volume scorer, inefficient shot chucker, 3-point sniper. Honestly, it's hard to say as of right now. He has looked like all three of these things at various times with the Charge. His 38-point detonation against the Santa Cruz Warriors was a perfect example of how hot he can get when he gets it rolling. He's capable of both on and off ball shot making, and the Cavs don't necessarily have a bevy of those types of players sitting on the bench at their disposal. Conversely, his 4 of 18 blunder against the Los Angeles Lakers during this past Summer League was a reminder of how much work he still must put in to become a viable NBA reserve. We watched as he went 3 of 12 from distance against those Lakers. He certainly didn't display any lack of confidence either. That's good to a degree, I suppose. Outside of that 3-point shot, Bates must continue to add weight to his slender frame. He is off to a great start. According to Ethan Sands of Cleveland.com, he is already up to 206 pounds, 36 heavier than his listed playing weight of 170 pounds from just last season. That should help him absorb contact much better than he did within the Charge last season. It seemed fairly easy to throw him off balance if you put pressure on him on his drive to the rim. Hopefully that becomes less and less of an occurrence this year with the added weight. Now, I'll be really curious, I'll admit, to see how much that actually affects the speed and mobility around the court, because he's already far from a high level athlete. I think we can all see that. I'd also like to see him lean into playmaking a bit more this season. With the gravity that he is capable of drawing, he should be able to make plays for others more often than not. We got small glimpses of that during Summer League, but not consistently. And even without the ball in his hands, I believe he could use his gravity to generate looks for others, similar to what we have seen from Sam Merrill last year. I'm hoping that he learns to wield his off-ball movement more and more to his team's benefit. The second-year forward must put in the work to be more impactful on the glass as well. At 6'10", there is absolutely no reason why you should be lagging in this area. And yes, before y'all jump on me, I know that his 6'9" wingspan and lack of explosiveness does play a role in that, but rebounding is also heavily centered around proper positioning, anticipation, and effort. He had an overall rebounding percentage of 9.3 last year while with the Charge. That is not good enough for a man his size, if you ask me. I've always seen him as a potential catch and shoot specialist at this level, and I still think it's within the realm of possibility for him to turn into just that, but he's still got a ways to go. Therefore, my expectation for him is as follows. Lean into playmaking. Be more efficient. Less can absolutely be more in the case of Emoni Bates, and put more effort in on the glass. If Emoni can do these things, or at least make progress in them, I don't think it would be far-fetched for him to become this year's Craig Porter Jr. and have his two-way deal converted. You just never know when opportunity will come and knock, and so you gotta be ready. Now to one of the most divisive players on the entire roster, that is George Niang. Listen, the 2023-24 season was not kind to George Niang. There were moments when he flashed the floor spacing ability that got him here in the first place, perhaps none bigger than the 33-point detonation and domination of the Milwaukee Bucks, in which he was nearly perfect from the field. He was 13 of 14 in that game, including 5 of 6 from range. That was indicative of the type of production that Niang is capable of. it was awesome, right? Truly made you feel like he was worth the deal that the Cavaliers handed him. I know it made me feel that way. And don't get me wrong, Niang definitely increased the level of spacing around the others, especially considering that he did it from the front court. He knocked down 149 triples, which tied LeBron James' 2018 season total for the 16th most in Cavs single season history. He also did so on a seemingly respectable percentage of 37.6%. And it would seem that he's done what the Cavaliers have paid him to do so far, right? Well, it's not quite that simple. Yes, George did provide the Cavs front court in particular more spacing, but at what cost? What was the trade-off? That to me is the question. I'll tell you right off the bat, the two biggest trade-offs happen to be defense and rebounding. Those were the two biggest things the Cavs had to give up in damn near any lineup that featured Niang at the 4. And make no mistake, that's almost exclusively where he suited up at. 80% of his minutes came at the power forward position this past season per Cleaning the Glass. Niang finished the 2023-24 season with an overall rebounding percentage of 8.5 and a career high 3.4 rebounds, 8th most on the team. Niang finished the 2023-24 season with an overall rebounding percentage of 8.5% and a career high 3.4 rebounds, 8th most on the team. There is no reason why he should be averaging less rebounds than Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, and Karis LeVert. That is pretty pitiful considering the position he plays and the minutes he was allotted. 22.3 minutes per game to be exact. 8th most on the team and 3rd highest among the 5 primary players who occupied minutes at the 4 and 5 positions for the Cavs this past season. Now, on the less glamorous end of the floor, Niang finished his first campaign in wine and gold with a defensive rating of 115. Opposing teams scored 6.4 more points per game when he was on the court compared to when he was off of it, which placed within the 7th percentile. He just doesn't have the speed to keep up with opponents on the perimeter, and it was a common occurrence to see him getting bullied or taken advantage of in the paint because of his size. He has clear limitations in this regard. So in conclusion, the spacing he provides is real, even though last year was his worst full season as a perimeter shooter, and he still hit a respectable 37.6% of his triples. This leaves me with one real expectation for him: improve as a rebounder. Upon closer examination, Niang has never truly been great at rebounding, whether it be on the offensive or defensive glass. He has never finished with 7 or more defensive rebounds per 36 minutes in any of his seasons and has only surpassed 1 offensive rebound per 36 minutes once in his career. He's only finished above the 20th percentile in defensive rebounding twice in his career and once as an offensive rebounder. It doesn't look great, but I won't ever rule out a player improving in this regard when so much of rebounding is proper positioning and effort. Up next is an underrated player in Dean Wade. And honestly, I do not know where to start with Dean because I'm often conflicted because this is a guy who has the size, the shooting ability, and defensive makeup to play a high minute role off the bench or as a spot starter even. There's even some people out there that campaign for Dean to be the starter at the 3. He was pivotal in the Cavs staying afloat after the injuries to both Darius Garland and Evan Mobley. And during the 22-game stretch that Mobley missed from December 8th to January 26th, Wade was pretty damn impactful. You gotta admit, he started every single game, putting up averages of 7.5 points, 4.8 rebounds, and 1 steal while completing 46.6% of his field goals, including a phenomenal 45.3% of his triples. Little known fact that many fans seem to forget, Wade was actually completing 2 triples per game during that span of games. This opened the floor up like we haven't often seen because it allowed Jarrett Allen room to roll to the rim and the drivers an outlet to kick the ball out to. Wade was providing Cleveland with a mixture of high-level perimeter defense at the point of attack and spacing on the offensive end due to the sheer threat of him drilling a tray. Defenses were starting to find out that they couldn't just leave him open like they do with Isaac Okoro per se. He was drilling 42.9% of his catch and shoot attempts, and when the defense did leave him be, he took advantage, knocking down 50.9% of his wide open triples. In total, Wade made 32 starts last season. He actually started more games than he came off the bench last year, but from a spacing standpoint, it didn't really matter. As a starter, he completed 39.9% 35.6% of his triples, and as a reserve, he made 38.2%. Good volume all the way around to boot. There isn't a lot not to like about Wade from a basketball standpoint. He can space the floor, he has great size, he's agile, he can defend at a high level, and doesn't require the ball in his hands to be impactful. But the problem isn't necessarily an on-court issue. The issue with Dean Wade is that Dean Wade is unavailable far too consistently. He has missed a hefty amount of games throughout his 5 NBA seasons, and he's only really been healthy for one season, if we're being honest. That being the 2020-21 season that was altered due to COVID, where he suited up for 63 of a possible 72 games. In each of the 3 seasons since, he has missed at least 25 games, and worse than that is the timing of the time he has missed. He didn't play in the play-in games at the end of the 2021-22 season. He wasn't healthy or impactful enough coming off an AC joint sprain during the 2022-23 playoffs, and most recently, he missed the entire first-round series against the Orlando Magic and 9 games in total during the 2023-24 playoffs. Wade has rarely been available when it matters most. Regular season availability and productivity be damned. Availability is the best ability. It will always be. Therefore, my expectation for Wade is to be available come the playoffs. Circle that, check that, just put a bookmark next to that, just remember it. Shoot confidently, play more than 65 games during this season. Now, I get that 2 of these are revolving around being healthy, but I can't overstate the significance of how important a player he can be for this team if he remains healthy. The blend of spacing and defense he provides is an asset. Next up on our journey is the recently signed restricted free agent Isaac Okoro, and y'all know me, I'm an avid Isaac Okoro enthusiast. You probably have a really hard time finding many who have been bigger supporters of this young man. But with that being said, the Cleveland Cavaliers and Isaac Okoro have reached a crossroads. Yes, I know that he got a new deal, and that's great. And trust me, I am very hyped and thankful that he is going to remain here for at least this season. However, the new CBA being what it is, his future with the franchise is far from solidified. He could still be moved eventually. This, for all intents and purposes, does kind of feel like this is Okoro's last chance at selling the front office that he does actually belong here for the foreseeable future. And there are a few reasons to believe that he does. He is by far the best point of attack defender on the roster and is routinely tasked with slowing down some of the game's best players, something that we have grown accustomed to seeing. He is a terrific defender. We all know that. He has also, despite what many people will tell you, and there are a lot of people who will tell you this, he has actually become a better perimeter shooter each season in the league. He began his career shooting a paltry 29% on 3.2 attempts during his rookie campaign. He would follow that up by taking fewer attempts in year 2, but increased his efficiency by completing 35% on 2.3 attempts. Yes, the attempts were down, but the makes went up when you consider how many fewer he actually took. It took 214 attempts to get to 62 makes his rookie year, and only 157 to get to 55 makes in year 2. Year 3 saw him make 36.3% on 171 attempts, and he was right back up to 62 makes. The 2023-24 season was his best yet, as he drilled 39.1% on 3.1 attempts. It was his first time averaging over 1 make per game to date. A lot of it may be tied to confidence. I'm not sure, but what I am sure of is that he has yet to translate it when it matters most, meaning the playoffs. Through 17 career postseason appearances, Isaac Okoro is now a career 13 of 48 from distance, or rather 27.1%, and the volume is still far too low at 2.8 attempts per game. To take it a step further, he now holds career averages of 5.8 points, 1.6 rebounds, and 1 assist while completing just 38.7% of his field goals. He's been nearly non-existent on offense since a game or two here and there. It's a major reason why he was pulled in favor of Karis LeVert during his first official postseason series against the Knicks. I know we all remember that one. He has failed to take advantage of the amount of space the defense has given to him. He was 8 of 29 on catch and shoot attempts during the 2023-24 playoffs, and 34 of his 35 attempts were considered open or wide open. He knocked down just 26.4%. Defenses just do not respect him in this regard. They have no fear at all that he will actually make them pay. And to this point in his career, we got to be honest, he just hasn't. It's mostly in his control, but he hasn't been able to take advantage of that. This leaves me with one major expectation for Isaac Okoro in 2024-25. Become a reliable shooter in the playoffs. I have no doubt in my mind that new coach Kenny Atkinson will find new and innovative ways to get the most out of Okoro's particular skill set. Maybe he instills a level of confidence in him that JB Bickerstaff could never quite do. Maybe the presumptive increase in pace aids him in such a way that they are able to circumvent his playoff shortcomings. Time will tell. One thing that I do know for sure, though, is that if Isaac fails to do so for a third straight season, he's likely gone this upcoming offseason. And last but certainly not least is the Cavs' biggest acquisition from last offseason, Max Strus, a man that's apparently getting love from bachelorettes out here now. I see you. Look, I gotta admit, I was stoked when we got Max, even though it was coming at the cost of two players near and dear to my heart in Cedi Osman and Lamar Stevens. But when we acquired him, I viewed him mostly as just a movement shooter, a volume shooter at the three. Little did I know that he could be so much more. Shame on me for labeling him and putting him in a very particular box. Max Strus wasn't wildly efficient during his inaugural campaign in Cleveland, as he shot just 41.8% from the field, including 35.1% from three-point distance. But what he did do was contribute in other areas that I never quite pegged him to be capable of. His 2023-24 stat line reads 12.2 points, 4.8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 0.9 steals in 32 minutes per game. Oh, and the Cavs were a whopping plus 5.6 in offensive rating when he was on the court. The season marked numerous career highs for him, including minutes per game, points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, free throws made, field goals made, steals, and blocks, among a few others. Basically, it was career highs across the board in many regards. He was asked to take on much more responsibility offensively, and he responded quite well, in my opinion. Strus displayed on numerous occasions that he could be trusted to not only handle the rock or function as a connective tissue, but that he was a much better rebounder than I initially envisioned and was a much better cutter than I thought as well. It was far from a perfect season for him, but he provided in more ways than one and truly did provide the Cavs with true volume shooting, something they had been clamoring for a while out of the starting three. Of course, he does have clear limitations. At 6'5" or 6'6", wherever he decide to look, Strus is considered undersized at the three, and therefore it is possible to scheme up ways to exploit that, especially considering the size limitations of the starting backcourt. He is far from the most athletic wing out there and isn't a notable defender, though he has managed to hold his own, I gotta be honest. He may be more suited to play the two than the three long term, but was indeed brought over to solidify the three, and to this point he's done a pretty solid job in my opinion. He has largely split his time between the positions over the course of his career, and that part may never change. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is not always ideal to have this type of archetype starting at the three. Heading into year two with the Cavs, I am very interested to see what the Strus experience will show us. Mainly, I'm interested to see whether or not he will be able to deliver in the playoffs, as he was mostly a non-factor in last year's festivities, averaging just 9.5 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 2.9 assists while completing fewer than 41% of his field goals, including 34.7% of his triples. Therefore, my expectation for him is to average double digits in the playoffs, shoot around 37-38% from range, and grab 5+ rebounds for the first time over the course of a regular season. Now, I know that last one probably sounds like I'm asking a bit too much, but I do think that with an increase in pace, there will inherently be more rebounds to pull down. And I am hoping that he's able to continue his ascension on the glass. And as long as he keeps up his effort, which that's what a lot of rebounding is, right? Positioning, effort, just trying to be where you need to be, I think that he will actually get there. I also expect him to shoot much closer to 40% this upcoming season. And if he can manage to do that, it would only increase the gravity he draws. Time will tell. That completes the list of forwards. Next time out, we will dig into the bigs. And as I always tell you guys, if you'd like to reach out, you know how you can. It's Cavalier_pod on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and more. If you want to support the podcast in a small but helpful way, consider becoming a member over on Patreon. Go Cavs.